Thompson Productions.
No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Alison. It's May 15th, a beautiful Thursday morning. I'm joining you guys again today. I know I wasn't here yesterday. I'm sorry. Occasionally, every now and then, I actually have to earn a living. So one of these days, maybe you guys will cut it for that, but we're not quite there. We're getting close. But every now and then, I actually still have to put forth manual labor, and that's okay. Not a big deal. I've done a lot more manual labor in my life, and it's petering off as time goes on, thanks to good people like you that seem to want to just give me money to do dumb shit like this. So, although I will say I say dumb shit, but we talk about good stuff, and I think it's we just had recently the second Jake Shields episode drop, so like I know we're talking about important stuff, but we're having fun while we're doing it. By the way, it says, when are you gonna get a haircut? I'm not. I'm fucking not. If you haven't caught on yet, it's not fucking happening. There will be no haircut. Sorry. I decided I'm done with that now. Sloppy Toppy says, are they censoring the word faggot? Can you see his comment? Hope you've been good, big dog. Yeah, I can see it. You are on YouTube. I will say, I can see everything, I think. I don't think it censors it. Someone on YouTube say a real bad word, and I'll let you know if it goes through. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it lets me see it, but it won't let them see it, I believe, on if you're watching it live. So I don't know, that's my understanding. YouTube screwy though. You can get away with a lot more on Rumble, so definitely go check it out on Rumble. Although I will while I am plugging Rumble, I will say thank you for just getting me to 5K on YouTube recently. So that took a while to reach that. Hit 1K on Rumble not too long ago, so let's shoot for 2K over there, because fuck YouTube. Let's leave it in dust. Although it's so nice, I guess, to get more people over there. So it is what it is. Double-edged sword. But I definitely don't want to be too reliant on that YouTube audience whatsoever, because it's not at all that crazy that they might slap us down for that later. But I don't know. We'll see. We're at a weird juncture in history to where we'll see. I don't know where things will go so far as censorship. It feels like it should be coming back anytime now, but I don't know. We'll see. By the way, just want to say good morning to all of you guys. See a bunch of y'all in the chat. Me and Eugene, Eric Petty saying he's waiting. By the way, congrats, me and Eugene first in the chat. JMS, Sloppy Toppy, Desk, Alan Amofo said he's reefering and gardening reefer. Cool. I might partake of the reefer a little bit after I'm done with this. Maybe get a little workout in, keep tearing away at my floor. So for those, I think I told you guys I'm ripping up my flooring in my house too. So man, that is backbreaking work. But yeah, so appreciate all you guys joining me. See Real John Doe, Eddie Grimm, Milky Chimbira. Man, we're getting to where it's like it's getting undoable to say hi to every one of you more. Screwed up Nevsky. Maybe we'll have to just make it like a quick thing in the morning, and after that you miss the morning high. It's too late. But man, bunch of y'all in here, so that's cool. It's cool to see a bunch of y'all back. But let's see Doomsday Cracker in here. But while we wait for more of y'all to roll in, hell, I haven't even got to the ad read yet, and already a bunch of y'all in here. I do want to take a moment to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by friends over at Nado Shave Co. I know I was just talking shit about not cutting my hair, but I will still always edge up my beard because I'm not just gonna let it go nuts. I'm at least gonna edge it. I'm keeping the beard though. I don't think I'm gonna shave it for a while. But even if you are someone who wants to go that way, really either option, whether you're edging up or shaving up your whole face, this is the superior option. Really, if you're a dude, you need to shave. So like, I mean, even if you have a beard, you gotta edge it. You gotta make it look nice. So I mean, you need a razor. As a man in this world, you need a razor. Now, what razor do you get? Do you just do the normal thing, the well-trodden path, what everyone does, the multi-blade razors? No. You forge your own way. You go back the way of traditional man. Do it shaved just like your grandpa used to. Go the single blade safety razor. It's superior in every way anyways. I mean, there's no real reason why we went this way. This is the superior way. It's one blade that drags across your face, gives you a better shave than the multi-blade, and it's a lot better for your skin. Your skin will thank you for it. Your wallet will thank you for it as well. It's a fraction of the price. It's $75 for the first year, and after that, you're just buying the blades because the first year you get the handle. And you also get an additional 10% off if you use Jose at checkout. So it's far cheaper, I mean, especially over the years. And then as if all of that wasn't enough, this is a company that doesn't hate your guts. This is a COVID mandate refusing company. This company was born out of refusing the COVID mandate. So yeah, let them know I sent you. Go over to nadoshaveco.com. Use Jose at checkout. I mean, if you're a dude, you got to shave. I mean, we all shave, and this is the superior shaving experience. If you're a lady out there and your man needs a gift, I mean, let's be real. We'll just keep we'll just keep getting by with whatever we got. So you guys got to buy us these gifts, and we will adapt and we will overcome. But with that, let's check in chat, see how much of y'all rolled in. See screwed up. See a bunch of y'all already. It looks like you guys might already be arguing a little bit in there. So it's a good razor. I use it for my mom's back, says Sloppy Toppy. See, and I see a few of you, more of y'all in here. Jesus Hendricks, some more of y'all shooting the bull in the chat. All right, let's get into some stories. Let's get into some actual content. As always, we're gonna lead off with some foreign policy. By the way, I see there bug fights. Good morning. Good morning. Let's start off with some Israel stuff, which, by the way, there actually surprisingly hasn't been like a ton. I know when I left you guys on Tuesday, I was like, oh, I know I'm going to come back on Thursday. There's going to be a ton of shit. Surprisingly, no, because I know we're right at this weird time where Trump went to Riyadh on the 13th, 2 days ago. So he just got there on Tuesday when we were covering it. So nothing had really happened yet. But here we are now. So I know we are at a point where a lot is going to happen. I thought some shit would have already happened by now, but we'll see. So, or maybe we'll still be in the same situation where nothing ever happens. But as of right now, we're in an interesting spot. Trump over in the Middle East, with Netanyahu signaling and his party, the Likud, signaling they're getting ready to go in hardcore over at Gaza. All the multiple peace negotiations at hand, all at the same time. There's a lot going on, but surprisingly, not really too much is happening. But there are things happening around the edges that can really make the difference in how things play out here. For example, we actually have a couple of these stories today of essentially the other countries. Obviously not us, not Israel, but other countries and how they're acting in particular towards Israel. So here we have Netanyahu lashes out at Macron after French criticism of Gaza siege. It's from Kyle Anzalone, by the way. So Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday charged French President Emmanuel Macron with blood libel and siding with Hamas after the French leader denounced Israel's siege of Gaza as shameful. Macron has once again chosen to side with a murderous Islamist terrorist organization and echo its despicable propaganda accusing Israel of blood libels, the PM's office said in a statement, which blood libels is such a fucking joke at this point. I don't know who in this world takes any accusation of blood libel with any level of seriousness. It's the most mellow, the most overdramatic term I think you could really, you hear blood libel and someone could literally be committing a blood libel and you would just be like, oh, come on, get over it. Just in your head, you just immediately assume this the word blood libel by its very nature just makes you, like it should at this point, if you're a thinking individual, make you go, oh, this is bullshit. Whatever this is bullshit. This is completely just whining. But yeah, the point being is it could be a literal blood libel, but it's never actually a literal blood libel, which if I remember correctly, I believe like blood libel is supposed to be like essentially like a specific thing. It's become like a vague thing. I believe it was the accusations that during the pogrom times, because I mean this really gets to the crux of like, well, why were they doing all those pogrom things? And I don't know, this is quite the little rabbit hole to go down, but this is where you get into the accusations of Jews abducting young Christian boys, kind of around like puberty age, maybe like pre-manhood, and doing essentially ritual sacrifice, maybe even with some sort of sexual elements, essentially some sort of SRA type thing, a sexual ritual abuse, and that's what led, and then those accusations of like when the people would rise up and go, hey, they're doing this crazy shit, and then they would go, that's a blood libel. Like, so the idea of like making a false accusation about blood, like a libel, and then the blood would be the good Christian boy. Now, I don't know the truth of these matters. Now, this does get to a weird spot where you get into a lot of this does coincide with the time when the Sabotages were running rampant. And if you understand what they were known for and their philosophy, it kind of checks all those boxes as being the entity that perhaps was doing that. So if we want to give the Jays an out here, because I mean, that is pretty crazy fucking accusation. There were Sabotages around that time whose belief system was literally that they were in messianic times. And as such, the law was reversed. Well, what is good is bad, what's bad is good. And they were also trying to bring on a new age, essentially, through their works. And so their works of negative, essentially, was accelerationism. So through doing bad things, we will bring on a new age. So, and that's so that totally checks out for like, I mean, when you do get into the reading of the Sabotages, like the official readings, it's always like, it stops at like incest usually. But it's like, if it's the same thing with Aleister Crowley, like, because with Aleister Crowley, that's the same thing with him. It's like when you get to him, like, oh yeah, he was just like eating poop and doing weird stuff in the desert and whatever. Like, you're like, okay, but what was their philosophy? Oh, the philosophy was to do the worst possible thing. Maybe they did try to do the worst possible thing. So I don't know. Maybe these blood libels, maybe there's something to it. And then on the Crowley side of things, like, I'm pretty sure he straight up admitted to like molesting a child or something, and I'm pretty sure a lot of like Crowley stands this day try to say it was like a metaphor or some crazy shit. But it's like, once again, if you understand the belief system of like Thelema or whatever the fuck, and Aleister Crowley, the whole idea of like doing the most evil, depraved things possible, it's like, well, those awful like murder, awful things to children, those are the worst things possible. So, all right, weird little tangent, but I don't know, it's bizarre whenever you see blood libels evoked, and it's astounding they still even bother to evoke them. The response came after Macron slammed Netanyahu's Gaza policy in comments on French TV. What the government of Benjamin Netanyahu is doing is unacceptable. There's no water, no medicine. The wounded cannot get out. The doctors cannot get in. What he is doing is shameful. We need the United States. President Donald Trump has the levers. I've had tough words with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I got angry, but they don't depend on us. They depend on American weapons, he added. So they being Israel. This quote right here was the main reason why I wanted to cover the story, because I thought that second paragraph there from Macron, that we need the United States, President Donald Trump has the levers. I have had tough words with Prime Minister Netanyahu. So, and he just straight up says they depend on American weapons. So he's being pretty clear here. I do think it's interesting seeing these sorts of remarks, also kind of priming the ground for a possible shift in some way. The French president went on to say that the European Union could revoke its trade agreements with Israel over the onslaught in Gaza. Statement from Netanyahu's office that Macron's remarks exaggerated the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas, said instead of supporting the Western Democratic camp, fighting the Islamist terrorist organizations and calling for the release of the hostages, Macron is once again demanding that Israel surrender and reward terrorism. However, the IDF has recently admitted that freeing Israeli captives is the least important objective in Gaza. Additionally, Netanyahu said Israel would not agree to a permanent end in fighting or to fighting, it would expel over 50% of the Palestinians in the Strip. I will say on that angle, they have. It was just the other day I covered some statement by Netanyahu, and I would hazard to guess this is intentional, but he was talking to the troops, and this was when we were talking about how they could enter Gaza, like obviously they're in Gaza, but they could go full Gaza, like blow it all out, like soon. God, what was the fucking point I was getting at? The idea that they're essentially the idea that they're going to do both. Would agree to. God, I lost my fucking. The idea that they're going to try to get hostages, and that somehow this is a dual thing. Like, and so they've had where they've multiple times they've said that it's no longer the priority, but it seems like they're still sort of giving some sort of very, very, very weak service to it being a priority, and somehow that this is. They're wanting to do both, and somehow that they will do, and by doing one, it does the other. But they don't really ever explain how one leads the other. And even then, when not even really when pressed on it, just when they're being directly talking about, they will list it as being the least important thing. So yeah, it kind of just comes to like, well, it's kind of clear that like these are actions that are at odds with each other. So I don't know. I think at a certain point, it's just kind of like. They're just kind of talking out both sides of their ass, essentially where they can, where they feel like it'll benefit them to evoke hostages, they will, even though it clearly is not something they really care about too much. So, anyways, let's scroll through chat, see what you guys are saying. Let's get on to the next one. So we should have just arrested Bibi when he was here. If we really give a fuck, we as in the U.S. government, just in case Douglas Murray is watching. Yeah. I don't disagree. It's weird that Jewish accusations are so inflated and exaggerate when you can just point to that and be like, this is weird. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff where you're like, it's so over the top. You're like, what the fuck? Like I'm assuming you're kind of riffing on me talking about blood libel a minute ago. Because this is one of those ones when you learn about it, you're like, what? Because like once you start like digging into, because, the history of Israel, you're always the pogroms, just don't worry about the pogroms. Just the pogroms were a thing, and because of that, that's why we need the state of Israel. And then you're like, wait, what? But why? Why did the pogroms say? What was going on there? I don't know. I don't claim to know it. It really is just as simple as this is weird. And it's like, I don't know the truth of it, but it is. I mean, while it is kind of like a racist joke, there is some truth to it. 109 countries. You're like, dude, what the fuck were you guys doing? What was going on here? At a certain point, you're like, dude, something's off. So I don't know what. So I always read blood libel in a Jewish accent in my head. Yeah. Scrolling through. Sorry, just scrolling through, seeing what all you guys are saying. Ancient Babylonians sacrificed left-handed babies to Nado. Yep, checks out. All right, let's scroll. Let's go. Hearing so much about the fucking pogroms makes me want to set up pogroms. Yeah, I mean, and it is funny that whenever we talk about these things, obviously it's like, I know it's a tired point at this point, but it's like all of the things that, like, while I will agree that, like, sure, pogroms I don't think are good, and like let's even say that there is some truth to the whole fucking blood libel thing. It's also not cool to then take an entire people and then just be like, fuck you, and like kick them all out. And like, I don't think you get to blame every Jew for whatever the fuck is going on there. I mean, unless you can somehow prove it's part and parcel to their belief system. But I mean, this is where you get into the common point we bring up when we talk about stuff like the Elders of Zion, on like how like in some of these things, they like the writings, you'll see that they're talking about straight up fucking over the peasants. And so they see their own peasantry in this context as just as useless as the goy, or roughly about the same. I mean, just to be used all the same. So, yeah, I mean, these are people using people. So, point being, it's like I'm not all saying pogroms are good or anything, but it's like what the fuck is going on here? And then the irony of that between pogroms, Holocaust, all the concentration camp, like everything. And then you get to see it literally in this current situation being the exact opposite. I've given you multiple examples through the past couple of years of literal pogroms happening. There was The one guy who created I believe it was some sort of settler documentary or something that he got basically a pogrom, a Jewish pogrom came after him, beat the fuck out of him, and then they turned him over to the Israeli police, and wouldn't you know it, they arrested him if for the crime of having a mob chase him down and beat the shit out of him. And then what are we doing right now? We're currently herding an entire populace into one of the southernmost points of the area, into a small little containment center. Gonna set up a little spot for them to camp out and where they can sit around and concentrate a little bit. Concentrate in groups. Think a little bit. Think on their thoughts. The camping. A little bit of that. There's no parallels between any historical situations. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully there isn't a final solution here. So, anyways, yeah. Scrolling through. Yep, a necessary sacrifice. Real John Doe. John Doe says. All right, let's scroll. Let's go to the next story. More on other countries. That why I felt like this was important, just because it is like all these different countries kind of. While some of these were already ones who weren't too happy with Israel to begin with, it's just more kind of more people. I mean, really, we kind of really, in a certain sense, are really one of their only buddies. Saudi Arabia is kind of a tepid buddy at times. We're really their only buddy, but really all these other nations really turning on them just more and more. And we're becoming even more of a tepid, like, kind of here for them. So I don't know. They're walking a tightrope right now, and I don't even think Israel even realized it. So, Spanish premier calls Israel genocidal state. Says Spain does not do business with it. So, it says the Spanish prime minister on Wednesday described Israel as a genocidal state, and that Spain does not do business with such a country, marking his strongest language yet on the issue. So he responded to criticism from Gabriel Rufin, a Catalan member of Parliament who accused the socialist leader of maintaining trade ties with Israel despite the Gaza war. Says, I want to make one thing clear here, Mr. Ruffian. We do not do business with a genocidal state. We do not. I believe the other day from this platform I explained precisely what we were talking about when some things were mentioned that do not correspond to the truth. According to the local media report, this was the first time Sanchez publicly used the term genocidal state. So, I mean, that's pretty much all there is to that story. I just think it's interesting that Spain is saying, hey, we don't want to do, I mean, they haven't done, there's nothing formal here, but they're saying, hey, we don't do business with it. So you have another country saying, hey, they don't want to do business with it. I don't know, maybe something more will come of this. But either way, we have other countries not wanting to do business with it, other ones tightening up the language. So yeah, let's scroll through the chat, and then we'll move on to the next one. Does the ICC have their own prison? Isn't that what The Hague is? Isn't that the Hague? Yeah, I'm pretty sure The Hague is. Which I know you said stupid question, not a stupid, or I'm sorry if it's a stupid question. It's not a stupid question. It's one of those things that I feel like everyone acts like they know, and then yeah, I think was that? I'm pretty sure it's a prison for the ICC. Yeah, let me see. I'm looking it up real quick on my computer for those. Hague Penitentiary Institution. Was it for people detained by the ICC? Yep, they go to the Dutch prison in Scheveningen, and that's that's the prison Scheveningen. Scheveningen. I think that's right. Yep, that's the Hague. Actually the prison is not the Hague. It's the Hague, Netherlands is the place, and that's the name of the prison. That's the ICC. Obviously, the Hague is more catchy than prison Scheveningen. That does not roll off the tongue at all. But yes, that's where they send those sort of prisoners. Yep. All right, let's go on to the next story. More on the Jew world order. We have this goofball. I guess this is one of the guys. Badar Khansuri. This guy right here, he's one of the people who I guess got one of the many people who got busted for being being saying no things about Israel. This is a Georgetown scholar, Badar Khan Suri. He was released from ICE detention. Now, this, I'm not going to go through all of this, the specifics of this, but just we kind of dropped the ball on this story, but the whole crux of this that I really want to drive home here is I'm pretty sure every single one of these college students that got busted for anti-Israel speech, every one of them, I think, except for Khalil or whatever, the main one, I forget his name, Madid, something Hadid Khalil, or is Mahmoud Khalil, I don't know, whatever. Except for him, I believe they're still waiting on him, but every one of them, from my understanding, their court stuff has been successful. They've been released from detention. They basically essentially said that no, this doesn't work. But yeah, it says his release is in the public interest to disrupt the chilling effect on protected speech, Judge Patricia Tolliver Giles said at a hearing in the U.S. District Court in Alexandria, Virginia. So it is kind of heartening that, hey, it looks like these things are working out. I mean, I guess we're not out of the woods yet, because I said the one, and he's like the landmark one. I know me and Austin had talked about that in the past, that he's the one who has some weird kind of glowy connections. Doesn't mean he is a glowy, just kind of fits that pattern. So it's like, and he's a landmark case. So him being kind of like the first of all of them. So this could kind of all probably, the pendulum could swing back, I think, if we got a negative ruling there. But as of right now, it looks like everything's ruling in the favorability of the First Amendment right now, as well it kind of should. I mean, maybe we could get into specifics with some legal expert about, if this is the right way they're going about it. But I would say at the very least, this is all First Amendment stuff. And when it really got down to it, I mean, this shouldn't be stuff that's allowed in the first place. So, but either way, positive development. I also just find it funny. This guy does not look like a college kid. He looks like he works at a call center. So we're moving on up from that. So things are getting better in that regard, so that's cool. Although they are still trying to squeeze in gay little anti-Semitisms here and there. Here's another story on this. The House passed another anti-Semitism resolution. This is from Mel, the Village Crazy Lady. This one might be the most insane one yet. We call on the executive branch, state, and local leaders to educate Americans on how amazing Jews are and do everything they can to make Jews feel safe and secure in every single aspect of their lives. That's a quote from the resolution. The only no vote was Massey. So here we go. You can see a piece of it right here. So, we read, whereas counter to the rise of anti-Semitism, it is critical to increase awareness of Jewish American contributions to the success of America. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the House of Representatives calls on elected officials, faith leaders, and civil society leaders to condemn and counter all acts of anti-Semitism. Okay, so this is a resolution, which if I'm recalling correctly, when it comes to these resolutions, they mean nothing. They're just like I don't know, hey, someone got violently murdered in Times Square, and we're going to come together and we're going to make a resolution that says, hey, we as the House of Representatives, we voted and we said, that's fucking bad. So that's basically what my understanding of a resolution is. As fucking stupid as that is, they have found ways to waste your tax dollars to this degree, to where they feel the need to hold votes to really say, hold votes on what are essentially just strongly worded letters. Okay, of like, hey, I agree with that strongly worded letter. I don't agree with that strongly worded letter. Okay, well, let's take a tally and figure out who fucking agrees with a strongly worded letter. That's what a lot of our politicians do for a living. But this one, I guess, yeah, they are calling on them to talk about how awesome the Jews are, to educate the public on their contributions, and to take all steps to ensure their safety, security, and dignity of American Jews in all aspects of their life, including the workplace, college, and university campuses, synagogues, and at home. Here's our buddy Tyler. It says, what's the bill number? I want to see all who voted for this police stuff, and if Marjorie Taylor Greene's latest pushback was just for a show. Just 352, literally, or everyone voted for it. Literally everyone except Massey. So you can see House Resolution 352 on countering anti-Semitism passes on a 421 to 1 vote, with Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie still a little touchy over the 320,000 in anti-Massie IEs from AIPAC's United Democratic Project last year. What a faggot. She got to pull that excerpt from somebody named Rob Pyers, I don't know anything about it, but what a faggot. They go, oh, he's still a little touchy. Yeah, you really think this is all over the fact that AIPAC fucking snubbed him a while back? Or do you think it's really more the other way around, and this is why AIPAC snubs him? Because he's the only one that has a spine whatsoever. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's a nothing from my understanding of these things, but still, it's boy, oh boy, is it fucking gay. And I don't know. It's like that meme that goes around that everyone has probably seen of, like, it's usually like the thin blue line thing. And it's like the naked men, and it's like the one fat guy. He's like, Can I behold your cock and appreciate it and behold it or whatever? It's like a kind of some weird cuck thing. That's what this feels like. That is the role that all 421 of those people played, and then they tried to make it out like Massey's the crazy one for not being the little faggot cuck at the end of it. So, and then on that note of all these faggot cucks coming together, and there maybe being one or two people who decide not to be faggot cucks, here is another story from Dave DeCamp. More than 200 Republicans work to sabotage chances of Iran nuclear deal. It says more than 200 Republicans in Congress have sent a letter to President Trump urging him that any deal with Iran must involve the complete dismantlement of Tehran's nuclear enrichment program, which Iranian officials have made clear is a non-starter. The letter was signed by 177 GOP House members and every Republican in the Senate except for Rand Paul. So we had Rand Paul not being the faggot cuck here, although he does occasionally fall into faggot cuck tendencies, but this time, no. The Iranian regime should know that the administration has congressional backing to ensure their ability to enrich uranium is permanently eliminated. Now, this is another one of those things, from my understanding, just like the resolutions, and that like another strongly worded letter that we're going to vote on. So, but it does show you where their heads are at. The Republicans pointed to comments from Trump administration officials demanding Iran eliminate uranium enrichment, though it's unclear if that's the demand they're making in talks with Iran since negotiations continue to advance. You and your administration have therefore correctly drawn a red line against a deal that allows Iran to retain any enrichment capacity, the letter says. The vast congressional opposition to a deal will allow Iran's enrichment program to stay intact, will be noted by Iran since it's aware that any deal without congressional approval could be easily reversed by a future president, which makes it less likely for Tehran to make concessions. According to multiple media reports, Iran has suggested the idea of a joint uranium enrichment program with Saudi Arabia and the UAE in recent negotiations. But at this point, it's unclear if the idea is feasible or if the U.S. would accept it. Now, that little paragraph there is why I want to bring this up. Obviously, also the idea of like all the Republicans voting on it, just the same theme. But the idea that I guess this is. I went on a rant recently, and I still stand by it, that it looks like the perception here is that Trump wants a deal. That I genuinely think he wants a deal. And I think the sticking point, though, is that I really don't think he wants to just do the same exact deal that essentially was done with Obama. That's why this whole no enrichment, like they're being so sticklers. I really think they're trying to find something that will be distinctly different in a meaningful way from the previous deal. That way they can go, look, we did this. Obama was so stupid. He didn't do the thing that I did, and that's so much better. But if you come with the same exact thing, he has no line. He has nothing. So I don't know. But this right here could be that thing. The idea of a joint uranium enrichment program with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Now, how this would work exactly, I don't know, but I mean, I don't know. I like this idea. I mean, this is something that moves in a positive direction and can give everyone perceived W's, which is what matters at the end of this. Because we want an agreement. We want this to, chill out. And that very well may end up being what happens here. So Hey, fingers crossed. So all right, let's go through the chat, see what y'all have to say. Thank you for putting this in terms of faggots and cucks so I can understand. That's what I'm here for. It will be like the Trump-Russia stuff. They use their own bullshit report as a reference. This bill will be that for anti-Semitism. Yeah, basically. Someone saying the perversion globally, including Israel's pedo and sacrifice of children, even now is in their scriptures, especially teachings of Kabbalah, read up on the rabbis with young boys. Perhaps, I don't know. I'm not against the idea. I haven't read it myself, so... Yes, it's used as a foundation for anti-Semitism. Yeah, I know. I agree. That's how a lot of these things are used later. I know, like I believe the IHRA thing, I believe, had been already kind of thrown about in resolutions before, I believe, and that was the scary thing with it. For those the International Holocaust Remembrance Association. Working definition of anti-Semitism. This is what always comes up when you talk about anti-Semitism in legislation, because they need a definition for it. And that's the definition they use. And I believe it had come up in resolutions before, and that's what gave it teeth later to where more recently has been used to be like, okay, now here forward, this is the definition. Obviously framing things going forward. So, but that did, in a sense, yes, it did, from my recollection, did start out as resolutions, because before, whenever anti-Semitism would come out, they'd have to be like, oh yeah, this. So yeah, it is. I guess it's kind of a slippery slope type thing. Yeah. All right, cool. Rand Paul must be the bisexual libertarian Douglas Murray was referring to. Yeah. All right, let's get into what this episode is thumbed and titled for. We're going in a little bit into old Theo Von's background. This is from Parapower Mapping. Good follow. I said, bro, I got a Southern Polish neo-aristocratic coke addict back channel to the Kushners now, referring to Theo Von. And we will get into that. He's quote tweeting a photo of Ivanka Trump showing a dinner with her and her husband and Theo Von, which I will say, what the fuck, dude? How are you? Especially as much shit as he's talked in the past. How are you fucking chilling with Kushner? But all right. But let's get into this. So from Connie Pengosh, it's actually pretty funny that he chose Theo Von as his Americanized stage name to obscure his family ties, because his full name is Theodore Capitani von Kurnatowski III, and Von literally denotes noble patronality. Theo's Polish aristocratic pedigree dates back to the 1300s at least. Which, I mean, I'm laughing because it's like, this feels like something you'd read on April 1st, and then you get to the end of this long thread, and you're like, yeah, this is retarded, guys. It's Theo Von. He's a fucking stoner comedian. He's just having, don't get me wrong. This is probably all true. It's just, I don't know, it's just so funny to even kick this idea around. But let's look at some of these photos. This is Theo Von's from a Polish aristocratic line. This is from Marling Ettinger. He wrote this back in last year in August. His father was Roland Theodore Achilles von Kurnatowski Sr. Jesus Christ. His dad was 70 when Theo was born. Okay, so that's a weird, creating an unusual family dynamic. Yeah, for sure. The Kurnatowski family is a Polish aristocratic family. It's been highly prominent for centuries, first in the Kingdom of Poland, later in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and presently in the Republic of Poland. So, okay. All right, next one. History. The Kurnatowski family was first described in 1336 by Nicholas Starogrodsky in Miedczkov, Chod, whatever. The name comes from the Kurnatowice, which was owned by the family since 1448. Originally, the name was therefore Kurnatowski. During the 16th century, the family was consolidated under the name Kurnatowski. The family is part of the Lodzia clan and have been participants in politics, arts, and military endeavors. As magnates and members of the nobility, the Kurnatowski family have maintained extensive land ownings, including palaces in Biezdrowo, Dusina, Gostyzian, Kotowo, and Ziladowo. All right, Theo Von probably inherited a castle, considering how many they have. The family's golden age was the 17th century, when its members accumulated much wealth and influence, held numerous important posts within the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. The title of Count was bestowed by papal edict in 1902 to one of the branches of the family. Another line received the title of Count in 1916 from Tsar Nicholas II. Some members of the Kurnatowski family were ardent members of the Polish Reformed Church or Calvinists, producing a number of clergymen, although the Duisina, and other family lines have remained Roman Catholic since at least the 13th century. That's interesting, the Catholic thing. I mean, assuming there's anything to it, if we're going to get super schizo here. The Prussian line would go on to produce several Prussian major generals and a member of the German Reichstag. Okay. Then he goes on. He says, bro, you've got to be joking. Theo's ancient aristocratic father, Theo was conceived when he was 70, was good friends with controversial New Orleans District Attorney Harry Connick Sr., Jim Garrison's replacement, and the man who ordered his investigator to burn the DA's office's JFK files. The Assassination Records Review Board only secured them because the investigator disobeyed the demand. Connick Sr. also repeatedly protected the New Orleans mob during his tenure. Also to your question, because the question was, someone said, can someone ask Theo Von what his dad was doing in Nicaragua in the 1970s already? All right. And also to your question, EWO, which is the name of the account, Eyes Wide Open. What I'm seeing is that Roland von Kurnatowski Senior's family were mahogany farmers in Nicaragua, and that he relocated to NO. What's NO? Am I retarded? What are we talking about? NO. Okay, I don't know what NO is. In the early 20th century, unsure if he'd continued to have ties to the country in the 70s, but I don't think he was living there full time then, unless you've seen something else I haven't. Okay. He's just saying I don't think he was living there full time. Okay. Here's a little excerpt from Harry Connick Jr. Okay, nothing really. Or senior. Okay, I'm going through these excerpts, seeing if there's anything worthwhile. Okay, yeah, there's the stuff about, him being friends with, Connick Sr., who tried to get rid of the JFK files, which, okay, I mean, all right. And then here's an excerpt that's backing up the close personal friend. All right, that's I don't know, rich people or friends. There's not much on that one. So yeah, then I guess the whole Nicaragua thing, like his family were mahogany farmers. So I don't know, maybe he was doing something in there. Okay, never mind then. He says now Theo Von's in a following subsequent tweet. He goes, okay, Theo Von's dad was an anti-communist spook from New Orleans for sure, LMFAO. He goes, folks, you may want to sit down. He says, I just discovered Theo Von's Polish aristocratic dad was reportedly chairman of the Un-American Activities Committee of the U.S. Senate. All right, I remember hearing that before. Yeah, that's spook shit. Yeah, now we are at the point where Theo Von's dad's a fucking spook. An editor of the Latin Americans report for a New Orleans newspaper, and he propagandized on behalf of the Contras in the 80s. Wow. All right. So look, here's his dad again. This is an excerpt. Says the domino effect. Says, quote, very things our liberal congressmen and senators did to assist Fidel Castro to take over Cuba are being done to assist the Marxists to take over Nicaragua. When Castro aligned himself solidly with Russia, freedom went down the drain in Cuba. If we do not help throw the Marxist government out of Nicaragua, El Salvador and Honduras will follow the Russian influence with help from Castro's Cuba. Maybe then the liberal elements in Washington will be happy. That's from Roland von Kurnatowski Sr. That's his quote. He says he's born in Nicaragua and former editor of a Latin American report for the now extinct New Orleans item, was also chairman of the Un-American Activities Committee of the U.S. Senate. When he asked to appear before that committee some years ago, he was told that he knew nothing about what was going on and thus was denied permission to appear. He has since been proven right, but the argument about help and not to help Nicaragua's freedom fighters goes on. We take no lessons from the past. Many newsmen are still criticizing. All right, cool. So, he's a spook. Dude's a spook. Here's more from that article. More photos. Okay. Yeah, dude's a spook. All right, let's keep going. Theo's father, Roland Sr., founded the National Children's Transplant Foundation in 1985 after his 3-year-old daughter, Rolanda, Theo's sister, was diagnosed with chronic liver disease, and he seems to have used a tax-exempt fund to raise monies for her transplant. U.S. Senator J. Bennett Johnson announced the foundation and served as honorary chairman, just showing the strength of the Kernatowski family's contacts in local politics in Washington. Okay. All right, so tax exempt. Okay, so he did make it. All right. Well, I don't really know what to make of that. So a rich man made a foundation for his 3-year-old kid, an issue. Okay. Is there anything implying something untowards here? I'm not seeing anything. I mean, obviously this guy's a spook, so I mean, let's be real. This strikes me as off the books money, but it could be legit. It's okay. The Von Kernatowski story and Theo Von's background is about to get even more insane and instructive. I need you all to strap yourselves in again. So Theo Von had a half-brother named Roland Jr. Okay, so remember we had Roland Sr., his dad, Roland Jr. now. So Theo Von has an older brother who was nearly 30 years older. He worked at Texas Instruments. He was a major developer and NOLA. Wait, is NOLA stand for something else? I always thought it was New Orleans, or am I just retarded? Is that one of those things that you just assume, like, what does that mean? Does that just mean New Orleans? Maybe it does. Okay, yeah, I think that just means New Orleans. Okay. Major developer in New Orleans. Okay, so, all right, I just retarded. I keep seeing it as NOLA and with capital letters, so I'm like, is that an acronym? All right, I'm just stupid. And owned the nightclub Tipitina's as well as the Orpheum Theater for a time. 2019, he may have been suicided in a shooting accident. Okay, so he worked at Texas Instruments, which I know is a spooky company, military contractor. Land developer in New Orleans, so that's always a little bit spooky. Owned a nightclub, a little bit spooky. Owned a theater, a little bit, not as much. And he was maybe suicided later. He sold his stake in both venues months earlier. He helped renovate the Orpheum after Katrina. By the way, I think he may have owned Fats Domino's old home and an adjacent music studio too. The reason he sold off his holdings was because he was majorly embattled. A Jesuit priest accused him of running the Tipitina's Foundation, which apparently provided musical instruments to kids, as a Ponzi scheme to enrich himself. He was facing multiple lawsuits and related to various dev schemes, including from his sister and her sons, and the DOJ and FBI had initiated a probe against him. This is a cursory glossing of the snowballing scandals that led to the reported shooting accident on his property in Mississippi that left a 68-year-old dead. Fucking crazy in the context of the Von Kernatowski family history, moreover. All right, here is... so former Tipitina's owner, Roland Von Kernatowski. I guess that's the brother. Dies in shooting accident. Family friends say... his death came several months after he sold it. Tipitina, the famed uptown music club he owned for roughly 2 decades, the band Galactic. He had also sold his share of the Orpheum Theater, which he had assisted in restoring after Hurricane Katrina. Both sales occurred as questions swirled over whether he had mingled his private business interests too closely with a charitable nonprofit under the Tipitina's name. Several lawsuits also accused him of swindling investors whose money he had promised to invest conservatively. On Monday, however, former Mayor Mitch Landrieu praised Kernatowski as a kind man, always. Okay, cool. There's nothing else important really there on that point. A bit of additional info regarding Theo's half-brother Roland Von Kernatowski's somewhat suspicious death. Apparently, he shot himself a single time in the chest while hunting wild boar on his Mississippi property all alone. Yeah, that dude... Okay, all right. He was quote tweeting something here. He says, "Can't believe where my Theo Von thread is headed. Turns out his brother was a New Orleans developer and nightclub owner who killed himself while hunting wild boar. At the same time as an FBI probe into allegations, he ran the Fats Domino connected Tipitina's Foundation like a Ponzi scheme and personal slush fund and defrauded various investors of his real estate schemes. Oh, and apparently the sheriff's office and the coroner disputed whether the death was accidental or suicide. This is on top of the revelation Theo's aristocratic dad was a HUAC journo spook that pushed Iran-Contra propaganda in the 80s and also had JFK cover up Nexus ties via his friendship with New Orleans District Attorney Harry Connick Sr., Jim Garrison's replacement after his ouster. All right, yeah, we hit all the beats on that thread, and boy, oh boy, that man, oh man, does he have some weird connections? Does he not? All right, that's isn't Kushner a blackmailer? He knows what Theo gets up to with the cocaine. Yeah. History Homo says a great episode on Rogan, Jones, Aubrey Marcus, CIA ties. Gillett says spooky ties too. Theo doesn't surprise me. Yep. So I mean, I'm not surprised. I don't know. So this makes me like Theo even more. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If anything, I could see him, like, I could actually totally see someone bring this up to him and be like, oh yeah, man, it's crazy, and just like it just, he's like, he never even thought anything of it. Like, oh yeah, and just, I don't know. I could just see him rolling with it, not even caring. I mean, I struggle to believe Theo Von's some sort of fucking government spook, but I also at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I think doors do open for you sometimes if due to connections. I mean, they may have nothing to do with anything you did on your own. So it's not saying he's controlled, but it's like this thing of like somewhat a good old boys thing, and the idea of like, oh, you're able to get through there just as virtue of having those connections, because people know that, like, yeah, maybe it's not like thought about, but it's like somebody more connected, you're going to have more control over it. Doesn't mean you have control, but some intel character wants to try to control Theo, they might have, due to his connections, his family connections, might have more angles to work with. That doesn't mean he has anything to do with them. So it's just that I think maybe that's probably why we see a lot of people in these high positions with a lot of spook connections. Is obviously some of them are just straight up spooks, but then some of them is just because, you know, I mean, think about it. This guy came from big money. He's a comedian, so he's basically the stoner archetype. So he legit just became a stoner kid that had spook ties and a lot of money, and so he had a ton of ability to hone his craft, and just so happened that it also kind of opened doors. So I don't know, it's kind of a perfect recipe for success, but who knows? Maybe Theo Von's a spook. Yeah, I mean, someone says, who is Theo Von influencing for the worst? Yeah, I mean, I guess the concern for people like us would be that he's like some sort of controlled op, but all that means is you just gotta keep an eye on him. So, like, just if he starts saying shit you don't agree with, just say, I don't agree with it. But for the most part, whatever, he's saying stuff we agree with, so I don't really know what there is to be upset about. But I mean, it is still interesting looking at his weird connections. So, yeah, this makes you not like Theo anymore, and then you're gay. I kind of agree. Yeah, if this makes you not like Theo, you're way too schizo. 6 Degrees of Hitler is also a good game. Yeah, I don't know though. These are like 1 or 2 degrees of spookdom. So his dad was very clearly a spook. So, and his brother was probably looked like it was a spook. So, and he came from big money. So yeah, it's a dude's spooky. But I don't think Theo Von's a spook. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure Theo's an only child and he didn't grow up with any of these people. Yeah, I mean, he just said his one brother's over 30 years older than me. So yeah, he probably, I don't, like, yeah, he, so then Alan says here, I literally have 13 brothers and sisters I've never met. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, judging by their age difference, he probably had little to do with any of these people at all. But yeah, I mean, considering all the different stuff I just covered, there's definitely a lot of weird stuff. But yeah, I don't think he's a spook. So if you listen to Theo, you'll know some issues with his mom not liking him. Jim J says might have a different mom. I don't know. There's a reason Theo didn't move to Austin. I don't know what that reason would be. But yeah, he's talked about. Okay, so he's talked about this. He said, "You like, yeah, I guess some rich guy fucked my mom, but I never met him." Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, whatever, worked out, but good for him, I guess. So. All right, his mom was a bar fly wrench. Okay, that checks out. That makes sense now. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess if his dad was just a philanderer, and so that it might sound way more spooky than it is. Like, yeah, you have the spook dad and these spook kids, but it's like, yeah, but you were just some kid of some horror you banged along the way. All right, let's get into some program to kill some sort of stuff. This is from Sarah. Said John David Norman, John Wayne Gacy, The Candyman, Dean Corll published magazine to order children in thread and shared us in it. He shares with ties to JFK, great thread, gay elite pedo network, and so she's sharing this here. This is from Kix Nutton Jr. You ever hear about the pedophile network discovered in the 1970s Texas, where approximately 30,000 clients were found on pink index cards and handed over to the State Department, who then destroyed them because they weren't relevant to any fraud case involving a passport. Now, starting off here, someone uses a quote tweet of a Kash Patel post. This is from 2024. Trump aide Kash Patel calls for massive declassification from Trump's administration, including the Epstein list and the Diddy list. Okay, so this is like Diddy list stuff. He's jumping off of this at the time, and he's got an excerpt or a screenshot of John David Norman's Wikipedia thing. So it says, John David Norman was an American pedophile and sex offender convicted numerous times between 1960 and 1988 on charges of child molestation and child pornography. Throughout his life, Norman operated various direct mailing services dedicated to distributing child pornography and arranging child or sex trafficking. Among these operations were the Odyssey Foundation, based in Dallas, the Delta Project, Creative Corps and MC Publications of Chicago, and Handy Andy from Pennsylvania. The ringleader was released on bail and then fled to Chicago and lived under the alias Steve Gerwell, who was then promptly arrested for molesting 10 boys within months. An unknown benefactor posted his $36,000 bail, which is the equivalent of $200,000 in 2024. Dallas PD Lieutenant Charles Hancock testified that Norman's client list contained high-profile men in government and industry across roughly 30-plus states. Norman was sentenced to 4 years. 4 years. And while incarcerated, he wrote for a homosexual newsletter titled Hermes from Prison. By the way, for those who want to read more on this is very much Eye of the Chickenhawk stuff. I think it does cover a little bit of stuff in Program to Kill, but very much Eye of the Chickenhawk. I highly recommend it. Hermes had approximately 7,000 subscribers and made about $300,000 per year. Profits were split between Norman and his business partner, Philip Pask. Remember that name, Philip Pask. It will come up again. Norman was released and later arrested again in 1978 for rape of 3 young boys, who said Norman was going to sell them to someone in Canada. Now there's an excerpt. Philip Pask. This is a little Wikipedia excerpt. He was an American criminal, murderer, and child pornographer from Chicago, Illinois. He was the closest associate and personal friend of sex trafficker John David Norman, and was briefly an employee of serial killer John Wayne Gacy. All right. A victim expected to testify against Norman for a separate offense was fatally stabbed. The primary suspect was Philip Pask. When Norman's apartment was searched again, they found 50 to 100,000 pink index cards with client contact information. Norman would return to prison. Philip Pask had a history of violence, yet always seemed to avoid prosecution or imprisonment. Philip Pask was also employed by notorious child murderer John Wayne Gacy while in Chicago. During interviews, Gacy would say he didn't work alone and was part of a network. Now, this is the Wikipedia excerpt for John Wayne Gacy. He was an American serial killer and sex offender who raped, tortured, and murdered at least 33 young men and boys in Norwood Park Township near Chicago, Illinois. He became known as the Killer Clown due to his public performances as a clown prior to the discovery of his crimes. John Wayne Gacy is a unique case as he doesn't fit the normal profile of a serial killer. He was relatively successful and social. He was an official with the Chicago DNC, ran a successful business, and a member of the JCs. The JCs, which were a junior member of Commerce, was a nonpartisan organization intended to mentor young men into roles of entrepreneurship, utilizing the guidance of successful male role models. Members include Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, Bill Gates, and Ed Kemper. Now, this JC's, I have to bring this up here. This JC's, Junior Chamber of Commerce organization, especially given the context of that this is being brought up while we're talking on Eye of the Chickenhawk Program to Kill type themes. I mean, if you, as I've said, multiple times on the show, the idea of how these networks work, like the I don't know, the not hierarchy, but the whatever, the logistics or whatever, the way it's structured, the structural organization is usually you have the victims, which are going to be like children typically. And then you have like the person itself, like a Gacy type or a Norman type, you could say. And they usually have young helpers, like a Pask type, usually someone in their late teens, early 20s. And essentially the best way to understand this is someone who's run through, usually it's going to be someone who was at one point a victim. And they have essentially graduated from victim to victimizer. Now they're in this in-between helper role. And then later they then take on a leadership role within the organization as like a Gacy or a Norman or something. I don't know, kind of interesting to keep in mind that, this JC's organization, of which Gacy, someone who abducted children and did all these awful things to them. And then Ed Kemper, who's also a serial killer, he also was part of this group. And Ed Kemper's dad was one of the Devil Brigade in World War II, I believe, or World War II, I think. Yeah, so he was part of the Devil's Brigade, so like the precursor to Phoenix. Anyways, point being is you have this one organization that's mentors young men into roles of entrepreneurship, utilizing the guidance of successful male role models. Well, that sure sounds like a dressed up version, a nice professionalized version of what I was describing in these networks. So just saying, I don't know. There's too many parallels to not notice it. Yes, Bill Gates belonged to the organization after it was associated with two notorious serial killer sex offenders. Other JWG employees included Michael Rossi, the grandson of infamous mob-connected Chicago alderman Vito Marzullo. Philip Pask also lived with John Wayne Gacy. He lived with him. Among the items found at John Norman's home were videos depicting illegal acts involving children, including snuff films. People who say snuff films aren't real probably never encountered a claim outside of Faces of Death on VHS in the 90s. Among these videos, investigators found 3 videos from the murders of Dean Corll, known as the Candyman or the Pied Piper, who was a notorious child murderer, sex offender in Houston. Dean managed his family's candy factory in Houston, where he used his position to lure in young boys. Dean was believed to be involved in the murder of 42-plus boys. Yet the Houston PD stopped searching for bodies when they hit 28 because that surpassed the previous state record for murder. I don't blame investigators who have had enough, but you should follow the threads. One of Dean's accomplices was Elmer Wayne Henley, a young man who had groomed and abused for years. Henley would groom younger boys and bring them to Dean to be tortured, raped, and murdered. Henley finally had enough one night and fatally shot Dean. When interviewed, Henley said Dean told him he's part of a wire child trafficking network reaching from Houston to Dallas to Chicago and beyond. He stated some of the boys Dean abused would be taken away, likely sold to other parts of the network. John Norman operated out of the Houston and Dallas at the same time. One of Norman's editors for the newsletter was John Berta. When Berta's home was raided by police due to a separate investigation, they found evidence linked to Lloyd Lynch. Lloyd Lynch was a respected dentist who was arrested for filming the sexual assault of a young boy by John Berta and another accomplice, John Bell. Among Berta's things were 3 50-foot spools of film titled John Bell, Michigan Trip. John Bell was a charitable director for Brother Paul's Children's Mission, which was a non-profit run by Gerald Richards. Richards was a gym teacher, magician, massage therapist, adult bookstore employee, and convicted pedophile. Man. Richards was arrested while in possession of an envelope containing child abuse photographs and a letter to Frank Sheldon stating, "Get rid of your stuff." Richards turned state evidence in exchange for leniency on a separate molestation case he was facing, which I think Sheldon's the island in Michigan. Oh, I can't think of it. I can't think of the island right now. How can I not think of it right now? This is really bugging me. I can't think of the island. I'm going to think of it later. All right, anyways. Richard testified he was involved in a wide-reaching pedophile network that involved illegal pornography. North Fox Island, I literally said it right there. God damn, why can't I think of that? That produced illegal pornography for distribution and child sex trafficking network using the private North Fox Island owned by Frank Sheldon. Frank Sheldon was a multi-millionaire. He belonged to a Millbrook and Yale University alumni family, which included members like Alan Sheldon, who was a member of the Skull and Bones Society at Yale. All right. Russell Alger, who was Secretary of War under President William McKinley and Senator Governor of Michigan. So we're literally seeing straight up ties and just skull and bones, which totally checks out. Richards testifies that he and Sheldon were involved in numerous organizations, including Boy Scout Troop Number 137, the Delta Project, which is a child trafficking ring managed by John Norman, the Odyssey Foundation, which is also ran by John Norman, and Father Bud's Boys Farm in Tennessee, which was exactly what it sounds like, which was set up as like a home for, wayward boys. And in fact, they were molesting these children and essentially giving them all sorts of drugs and essentially having a big gay orgy with children. And it was, and drugs. It's pretty fucked up. According to Richards, most of the child abuse videos were filmed at either Father Bud's Boys Farm or North Fox Island, owned by Frank Sheldon, and that the suspects in the videos would either be ringleaders of the network or clients of the network. Richards would develop the film privately and then use a third-party mail forwarding company to ship them to a California sex offender named Guy Straight, who would then market the films secretly under the license of F&F Distributors, which was operated by Philip Pask, coming back around full circle. In an interview titled His Only Regret, Guy Straight described working with Philip Pask and John Norman. North Fox Island, owned by Frank Sheldon, was an isolated estate used as a summer camp for both Boy Scout Troop 137, the Brothers Paul's Children's Mission, and others. Brothers Paul's Children's Mission was licensed under the Adelphi Academies brand, which included the Delta Project. Both programs acted as a boarding school for boys, but from different economic and social backgrounds. Both were actually child prostitution rings. The manager of North Fox Island was Adam Starchild, real name Malcolm McConaughey, who was a disgraced Boy Scout troop leader who was fired after confessing a sexual attraction to the scouts under his care. Now, once again, another Wikipedia summary here. This is Adam Starchild was a financial consultant, convicted fraudster, key figure in the perpetual traveler movement, and prolific author of books relating to investment, taxation, and the offshore world. Malcolm McConaughey faked his death and wrote his own obituary to restart his life as Adam Starchild. He was a financial wizard who was exceptional for hiding assets and protecting money using phony non-profit organizations. Starchild oversaw the accounts owned by Frank Sheldon for running North Fox Island, including overseeing the construction of the private airstrip on the island for bringing campers, victims, to and from the island. He also handled the accounting for the Delta Project. Starchild and Sheldon worked closely with Dyer Grossman, who was also an accountant known for phony shell companies and nonprofits, including the Ocean Living Institute, Educational Foundation for the Youth of Illinois, and he was a reverend of his own church. Dyer created the Church of the New Revelation as a tax shelter for himself and placed Brother Paul's Children's Mission under that shelter as a subsidiary. He then got Brother Paul's Children's Mission set up as a foster home for young boys and set up the Adelphi Academy brand. Sheldon would visit the island when the camp had boys, and even wrote for Better Life Monthly with Gerard Richards, who was a homosexual, which was a homosexual newsletter also run by John Norman. BLM, by the way, Better Life Monthly, Boy Lover Monthly. Also, just throwing that out there. There were some of these times these things were a little bit obvious. Sheldon would flee prosecution in the Netherlands till his death. In case you hadn't noticed, all these different people and organizations are connected. Philip Pask being the most notable, which keeps popping up, despite Philip never serving any major time for his crimes. There's more, but it's lunchtime. All right, well, shit, there's a lot more on this. I actually might come back for this. I didn't realize it was going to be such a long one, but we've laid them all, so we're going to come back. He's taking lunch, so we're going to take lunch too. Kind of a perfect timing for this. We will come back to this thread tomorrow. We'll call this, I guess, part 1. So let's see, what else do we got? Let's roll through the chat real quick and Yeah, I mean, maybe we could finish it. I don't know. Let's save that now. We'll do the second half for tomorrow. So let's roll through the chat real quick, and maybe we'll probably cover at least one or two more things before we get out of here. The thing you should have covered today was Theo grabbing a creep by the throat at a Starbucks. Well, that's fucking cool. By that I mean a guy walked up and was annoying him, went way to Theo's space, and he grabbed dude's throat and pushed him away. Okay, well, that's cool. I mean, I don't know. I would have liked to see that video. If anyone has it, I'd watch it. Scrolling through the chats. Yeah, I guess Real John Doe is saying at least 12 different people had keys to Gacy's house. Yup. So, by the way, I think The Hague only has 25 total prisoners. 22 of them are African and Arab warlords. Fun fact. Duterte was just arrested by ICC 2 months ago, says Screwed Up Nevsky. Someone says, yo, Theo ain't Theo. CIA swapped his soul in a Baton Rouge theater 2017. Look at his eyes. Reptilian flicker, 33-degree vibes. Governor's God's voice, and MK Ultra Dials feeding us Cajun word salad. Yeah, he's just a Cajun fucking, Mad Libs? That's all he is. So, killing kids is like a serial killer's cheat code. Like, who couldn't kill a kid? I say if you want to be a prolific serial killer, then kill alpha chads, then I'll respect you. Yeah. Yeah, someone says I zoned out, but I'm assuming this means Theo Von is John Wayne Gacy. Yes, it does. All right. None of these comedians like Theo Von, Shane Gillis, or Tim Dillon are actually funny. Their selling point is that they're simply not woke. That's enough to make them love them. I will push back on that hard. Those guys are fucking hilarious, but their stand-ups, I've never watched Tim Dillon stand up. Everyone that I know has said watch it, so it's like okay. I've never watched Theo Von stand up. I think I've watched Shane's like once. It's kind of funny. I mean, like I'm not like blown away. I've definitely seen way funnier, but they are funny podcast wise, and that's how they rose to prominence. That and being homies with Joe Rogan. So, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're getting at. The idea that like, well, they're not really funny, so it's like clearly they had doors open for them. I think it's more of a virtue of knowing Rogan than anything, and actually being funny. So, or like funny in like a conversational manner. So, all right, let's do a little movie day together. We got someone tagged me. This is 8/6. He's I got my hands on a 65 hours worth of live broadcast news coverage and special reports on the Move bombing, which occurred 40 years ago today. I produced this piece using the archival footage. May 13th, 1985, Philadelphia police dropped a C4 explosive on the home of the Move family at 62nd and Osage Avenue after 500 police fired over 10,000 rounds into the home. City officials allowed the fire to burn, killing 11 people, including 5 children, destroying 61 homes. Eyewitness and forensic evidence indicates that several Move children attempted to flee the burning home through the rear, but were either shot back inside, or their bullet-ridden bodies were thrown back into fire by police waiting in the alleyway. 2021, it was revealed UPenn and Princeton had stolen the remains of several of the children and not only conducted experiments on them, but also wheeled them out on gurneys at fundraising events. No one has ever been held accountable. In 2023, Mike Africa Jr. bought the house back, which was originally owned by his aunt Louise James, but was seized by the city through eminent domain. After the bombing, he's barred from turning the home into a memorial until he pays off the $400,000 mortgage. Support link below. He says, I'll be broadcasting live from the site of the bombing today at 5 p.m. as we commemorate all who were murdered by the city and the hundreds of black Philadelphians who lost their homes due to city officials refusing to put the fire out. And so, yeah, this is a 4-minute video that he put together, I guess, just the other day. So I'm going to go and play this. It kind of works out. I got to go to the bathroom anyway. So we'll go and play this, see what he has to say.
Philadelphia slapped. The bullets started flying this morning, and the worst fears.
Hey, I just realized I did, as I was presenting that to you, I didn't even have that up. I mean, it didn't really matter that you saw this, but all right, now I'm going to start the video over because I fucked up. But at least I noticed as soon as the video started. But let's go and play again.
Now,
Channel 10 News, live at 5.
While most of Philadelphia slept, the bullets started flying this morning, and the worst fears were realized at the MOVE headquarters in West Philadelphia.
MOVE members first came to the public attention in the early 70s with their back-to-nature philosophy and demands that zoo animals be set free.
As the streets of Philadelphia become a battleground, in first a war of bullets, and now a war of nerves. There's a stakeout officer in the picture that we see right now trying to get inside of a door. There are three of them there. You can see them right now. They are on 62nd Street in a home there.
At first, police believed their biggest resistance would come from the armed bunkers on top of the building. Thousands of gallons of water poured in for nearly 5 hours.
At one point, during the siege of MOVE headquarters, the entire block of Osage Avenue was enveloped in a tremendous tear gas cloud.
And something happened about 10 minutes ago. We'll find out, and there is one of the helicopters that says state police. And there you see the explosion after the state police helicopter dropped what looked like a bomb right in the middle of the MOVE compound. There you see the roof of the house. We've been watching that scene all day.
Well, Larry, the flames are probably leaping 10 stories high.
They are not, obviously, from what you say, from what we can see, they're not fighting this fire as completely as they could.
And the concern of the city of not having either policemen or firemen injured.
Later, the fire engulfed the entire house and then spread to a second home, a third home, a fourth home, then the whole block was gone.
I want the mayor of Philadelphia to stand here in my face and justify his position.
Whenever you are engaged in a difficult attack of this kind, there's always the worst case scenario. And what we see here is the worst case that could in fact happen.
I'm saying I know that more than Birdie and I was outside of that house, and there is no reason in the world for me to believe that anybody would voluntarily just, go back into a house and stay there.
What did Phil and Tree do?
They was running. She told them to run.
Which way did they run?
Down the alley.
At a press conference 3 days later, reporters asked about gunshots behind the house.
They did return fire.
The police commissioner gave them two versions of what happened. First, he claimed his officers fired shots in self-defense at a MOVE man with a rifle.
Fire was returned. As for the fact as to whether or not we killed anybody, that information is not at this present available to me.
Later in the same press conference, the commissioner reversed his story.
Let me clear one thing up to the question about the firing in the alley. About the return or the alleged return of fire by the stakeout officers against the people in the alley. There was no fire returned by the police officers for fear of hitting the child.
If anyone knows for certain what happened in the back alley, they have not yet come forward. The accounts of Birdie and Ramona that they saw others running from the house are unexplained. All 11 bodies were reportedly found within the house walls.
This is the body of John Africa.
But there is other evidence. A pathologist found bullet fragments in 3 MOVE bodies. Because the fire partially consumed some of the bodies recovered, evidence of other gunshot wounds was possibly destroyed.
All right. Well, that was something. That was not a cool thing they did at all. Very much not Cash Money. Someone's saying, I guess in his stand-up, Theo always talks about growing up super poor. I don't get it if his dad was loaded or he's make up all that shit. Maybe that, I don't know. Either it's a lie. I mean, a lot of comedy is straight up lies, and so it's what it is. I mean, how often do you watch a stand-up and you see someone tells a story about something that happened in their life? I've probably half the time, if not even, probably over half the time, it's straight up a lie to some degree. I mean, obviously sometimes it's embellished, but that's just how that works. So, I mean, he could have made up that he was poor. I mean, it kind of fits with his vibe. You're like, oh, I'm poor, shit. It doesn't mean it's true, and I don't even necessarily think it's like untowards of him to be if that's not the truth. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it is like someone saying, Alan's saying his mom was a barfly, didn't know his dad, so it's like maybe that's why. So I mean, yeah, it is bizarre that his dad's loaded. But all right, on to the next story. We got this is one we've covered on the show before, but Falcor, the Wishmaker, tagged me in it. Said you've seen this, but I figured I'd cover it real quick to remind you guys about this weirdness. It says breaking, although I don't know, maybe something specific within this is breaking here, but I did skim this earlier, and this is old. I believe this is pretty much old info, so I don't think there's anything new here, but maybe something in here is new. But Liz Crocken says Cassie Ventura confirmed Trump hotel shooter and self-proclaimed Diddy sex slave, who claims Diddy, Hillary Clinton, and Obama are part of satanic cabal trying to kill Trump, was one of Diddy's sex workers. Which that's the one who, this is a guy, Cassie, in court today, Cassie Ventura identified Jonathan Audie as one of the sex workers she was forced to engage in freak-off parties with. Now, I believe this was stuff that was revealed recently in some of the documents, and I believe some of this was like had come out in something else before or something like that, but I guess the breaking here is that because it was in court, and now this is actually, so now Cassie directly identified this person now, although it was already in the documents, I believe. So, but either way, this is still information most people out there probably aren't familiar with. So this is this guy that we're going to picture right here is one of the people she was forced to have sex with. Audie claimed Diddy is part of a black Illuminati group that engages in pedophilia, animal abuse, satanic rituals, and CIA mind control programming. He also mentioned satanic rituals are conducted at the Bohemian Grove, not Brohemian Grove. We do cool rituals there. Audie insisted in 2018 that the cabal has an agenda to kill Trump and that an assassination attempt was coming. That was in 2018. Last week, the Daily Mail confirmed that Diddy signed an NDA with Audie for $5 million in exchange for his silence. Okay, that's new. There's a breaking. Because I knew this guy had said some wild shit, but I didn't realize he's now being paid off to shut the fuck up. So that's interesting. Remind me to mention this to Austin next time I see him, because I don't know. He may not have caught that last little bit, because I know this was I believe it was Austin who actually told me about this stuff, like probably about a year ago or something. About this one guy who I believe I think there's some sort of connection with him too, about like maybe being approached to fucking be like a assassin or something. I forget. Either way, or I guess maybe it's just him predicting it. But either way, this guy, this is a story Austin made me hip to. I think it was like shortly after the Trump assassination attempt. That's when we were covering this. So. But wild stuff. Even more wild, we got Argentina's Supreme Court finding Nazi documentation and propaganda material in its basement. Now, I don't know what all that means specifically, but we're just going to crazily speculate. Actually, no, we have an article here, so let's read that. So, crates of Nazi documents discovered in basement of Argentinian court. The Argentine Supreme Court has discovered has discovered a trove of Nazi-era documentation within its own archives, a judicial authority has revealed. Discovery, which includes propaganda as designed to disseminate Adolf Hitler's ideology in Argentina, was made during preparations for a museum showcasing the court's historic documents. The court official, speaking on condition of anonymity, described the find as compromising postcards, photographs, and other propaganda materials from the Nazi regime. Some of these materials, the official explained, were intended to consolidate and propagate Adolf Hitler's ideology in Argentina in the midst of World War II. You sure it wasn't after? The unearthed box are suspected to be linked to a shipment of 83 packages arrived in Buenos Aires on June 20th, 1941, aboard the Japanese steamship Nanamaru. At the time, the German diplomatic mission in Argentina claimed the boxes contained personal belongings and requested their release. However, Argentine customs officials retained the shipment. Supreme Court President Horacio Rosati has now ordered the preservation and thorough analysis of the discovered Nazi materials. Crates have been moved to a secure office in the building. The court officials have alerted the Buenos Aires Holocaust Museum of the find. Photos show experts wearing masks and gloves sifting through documents, which include membership booklets with swastikas in the covers, and a raft of black and white photos. Following the end of the war, Argentina, under Juan Perón's leadership, became a haven for numerous high-ranking Nazis. Among those who moved there were Adolf Eichmann, who managed the mass deportation of Jewish people to ghettos and extermination camps, and Joseph Mengele, who performed deadly experiments on prisoners in Auschwitz. Eichmann was arrested by the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad in 1960 and put on trial for war crimes. He was executed in 1962. Mengele was never captured, despite the West German government requesting his extradition from Argentina. He drowned in 1979 off the coast of Bertioga. 2000, Argentinian President Fernando de la Rioja issued a formal apology for the country's role in sheltering Nazi war criminals. So, okay, I mean, whatever, fun little story. We got some Nazi stuff over in Argentina that's being unearthed, because I do think it was, within the year or two, there was some info, I forget the specifics on it, that, corroborated the idea that, maybe Hitler and many other, obviously we know Mengele was, or did for sure. Yeah, I mean, there was something recently that seemed to heavily imply they also had Hitler. All right, last thing, this isn't really a story. I'm more just like, hey, what is this all about, guys? This is, it's funny, I saw this tweet before we started, and I was just thinking about this the other day, because funny enough, somebody mentioned my hair, but my hair is getting to the length now to where, I'm going to have to start, pulling it back occasionally. I know it's super gay because I got to do, the man bun thing, but I'm at a length now where I play a lot of soccer with my kid. And, it's at a length where, it's in my face, and it's not doable. So, what are my options here? I don't really have a lot of options. I'm at a weird length, so just, a little hair tie, throw it back real quick. Point being is, my hair was really long when I was in high school, too. So, but point being is, if you're a dude with long hair, you end up being, having bracelets. And Ian Carroll, we have a photo here for the audio listeners of Ian Carroll. He's short here now, but old habits die hard. He has a bracelet on his arm. And someone says, wearing the red Kabbalah bracelet, just as Tucker Carlson. There's a big club and you ain't in it. Now, Tucker Carlson, sure, that's weird. I guess because people point out he has the Kabbalah bracelet, which I guess I'm kind of asking you guys. Do you guys even know what the fuck is it even about? Well, a red bracelet is somehow what Kabbalah is. So if you're wearing a red thin little bracelet, my point being is I'm totally one of these days gonna be wearing a red little hair tie, and then I'm gonna be on some big show. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, Jose's he's in the Kabbalah. It's a big club, and you ain't in it." Ooh! As soon as I meet the tiniest bit of success, I no longer can have any red string anywhere near me, or I'm fucked. So I just thought it was interesting because I don't know. Maybe he is part of some sort of Kabbalah club that we're not aware of. The Kabbalah Kids Club. I don't know. Yeah, this one is one of those ones that always strikes me bizarre. I mean, is it really, can we just not wear red bracelets? I mean, it was just what are these rules here? Is this a bizarre rules in this world, in my opinion. So, all right, let's roll through chat, and then actually we're gonna go get out of here. We're a little bit early today. Still dealing with kitties, so I'm still very tired. In the Carol interview with Joe, he had the star with a fist in red on. A star with a fist in red on. I don't know what that is. Are you I don't know what you're talking about there. All right, well, guys, I think we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I probably could have finished my child trafficking thread, but whatever. It leaves me something for tomorrow, and it'd be weird to jump back into it now. Halfway through. I have half of mine too, though, because I think there's only probably about 20 minutes left of it. But with that, guys, yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll pop back in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, normal time. Eddie says, how are the kitties doing? How many of them did they have? She had a litter of 7. One was stillborn, and 1 died. Which is, it sounds awful, but it's super, super common with kittens, litters of kittens. I was tube feeding everything and just didn't, sometimes I just said, something weird. So just whatever, just, I was doing everything possible you could. It just something wasn't right with it. So, but they're all rest are doing good. Just but they're kind of retarded. They're not figuring out breastfeeding very well. So I'm having to wake up every 2 hours to feed them. So, but with that, do want to remind you guys can leave Rumble rants on, I should start getting more grifty. Start leaving you guys daily goals or something. But yeah, you guys can leave over at Rumble, No Way Jose on Rumble. make sure to give me a follow over there. Don't get too reliant on YouTube whatsoever. But yeah, go follow me on over there. You guys can leave Rumble rants if you guys want to make sure that I do bring up the stuff that you're talking about. Yeah, with that, guys, if you do want to support the show, one way you can do that, I already told you about how you can support the show via a product. You can get a razor and support the show. But you also go to toplobster.com. I mean, you can go to Bro Grove. That's a support in a roundabout way. You get to hang out with me too here in June, in about a month, and some change. And also you can go pick up over at the Already Dead tab in toplobster.com. You can pick up some No Way Jose merch, some Already Dead merch, some Yiki, some Trendu merch, some Gladio merch. Get that stuff. But with that, guys, if you do want to support the show and you don't want to chip any money, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment. Leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Follow me on Twitter at DowerGangJose. Those are all free actions you can do that help me in this endeavor. But if you do want to directly support the show, the best way to do that is with money, and you can do that at Patreon.com. Just NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That's where you get access to early episodes. I'm doing about 2 a week these days, 4 at a time. So you're getting weeks of paywalled content. Tonight I have Austin coming on. I think we're starting our Dutro series. So that'll be good, dark but good. Also, you get ad-free RSS feed at the Patreon, and also you can get a priority call-in for me and Austin's weekly call-in show, Already Dead, on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And the highest level are my sponsors, and I read them off every episode. It's a big thank you to them. My co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad, also at ApplegateDeeds at ZOVRACK at _InfantZeal, Tim Tuttle at John Klebold. Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, and big fan of Show Torme, then at INWARD Lover. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and get out of here. Deuces. Bye-bye.